Well, howdy folks, and welcome to the Max Adventures channel. Today, we're going to be cruising the streets of Fort Worth. We're going to show you the goods and the hoods of Fort Worth. So sit back, relax, enjoy the film. Should be pretty interesting. We're currently in the Hanley district of Fort Worth. We'll be cruising through Stop 6, the Central Homeless District, and on to the Stockyards. Thanks for joining me. Let's get started. So one fact about Fort Worth people probably don't know is that it's the 13th largest city in the United States. Who'd have thought that? And it's the 5th largest city in the state of Texas. And crime. Lots of crime comes with large cities, so we'll dive into some of that. So, Fort Worth is one of the most violent cities in Texas, and even the U.S. Assault rates in Fort Worth are almost double the national average. The murder rate is more than double the national average. The rape rate is 35% higher than the national average. However, the robbery rate is somewhat low. They don't want your money, they just want to mess you up. So burglaries are about 30% lower than the national average. Theft in general is about 10% lower than the national average. And robbery is, around 35% lower than the national average. So it's kind of odd. I think this has to do with the castle doctrine. People don't want to go in and rob somebody's house and take the chance of being shot. So they might murder you, rape you, or shoot you, but they ain't breaking in your house. Now, on the flip side of that, it's about 30% higher in automobile theft. So they will steal your car, they will break into your car, but not your house. That takes us to Lancaster Avenue. So in this video, I'm mostly just cruising through the southeast sector of Fort Worth. What I did is I got off of 820 on Craig Street, cruised down, I think it's Millam, down to Lancaster Road, and yeah, this area's seen better days, but it's seen worse days. In the 80s and 90s, this was even more crime ridden. It's cleaned up quite a bit since then. A lot of the real big crime area has actually moved south of town, south central part of Fort Worth. Really high crime rate in that part of town, which we do not go to in this video, but maybe down the road we'll cruise back to Fort Worth and check out the south central district. You'll notice as this video moves along, you'll start seeing a lot of people walking the streets, a lot of homeless, and the closer we get to Stop 6 part of town, that's a very big drug den part of town. So for instance, if you live in one of the suburbs and you need to find your drug of choice, you go over to Stop 6. If you're in Dallas, you can still find stuff in Stop 6 that you can't find even in Dallas. It's remarkable how much drugs go through that part of town. But as you can see, there's an old Long John Silver's building. There's an old Taco Bell from back in the day. But this part of town hasn't really seen any new development. So a lot of the old structures, old buildings, stuff you'd be familiar with from the 80s are here. and on display. So that's kind of a cool thing about driving through old parts of town like this. So we're getting closer to the Stop 6 area of town, and people ask, why is it called Stop 6? Well, it's because the old interurban line that used to run between Dallas and Fort Worth, that was the 6th stop on the line leaving the Tarrant County Courthouse, which we'll see here in a few minutes. But it was no real town there. It was just a community, and they called it Stop 6. And that was from 1902 to 1934 that ran. So this being one of the older parts of town, that kind of explains why the crime rates go up. You know, businesses come and go. There's no new construction going on, no new retail, just old buildings that get repurposed. And that's kind of when you start getting into these crime parts of town. There's the old bus line here in Stop 6. I guess that's technically Stop 6, huh? And no matter how good or bad a neighborhood is, you're always going to find a Whataburger if you're in a neighborhood in Texas. Here's some of the old motels along the route. I can only imagine what kind of activities go on in these type places. And you'll start to notice along the edges of the roads, lots of homeless people walking around. It's 106 degrees today, so yeah, I wouldn't want to be out walking around, but you'll start noticing them along the roads more and more as we get closer to the central homeless district. You know, lots of people walking from the central drug district down to the central homeless district. What a fantastic part of town this is, folks. Now, I'm noticing a lot of these Albuquerque-esque dancing, Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad type things. So this part of our drive takes us straight through the heart of the central homeless district. And you'll start noticing them off, the homeless off to the peripherals here. Just to our left is a massive tent city homeless encampment. I don't like pointing the camera and showing people that are having a hard time anyway. So just trust me on it. There's a massive amount of homeless. The executive director of the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition, Lauren King, says that this is the most homeless Tarrant County has ever seen. And the last count they did, late March, early April, counted 2,700 unsheltered homeless people on the streets. That's a lot. So in the statement I was reading there, they were talking about how they're giving these folks housing vouchers for immediate housing at motels and places of that nature. You know, my deal with the homeless situation is it's multifold. You can't just give people housing vouchers and expect the homeless situation to be all better. Well, we got them off the streets. Yeah, but now then the motels ran down and there's all kinds of issues with it. The main thing is you've got to get some kind of drug rehabilitation center. You have to secure our borders so that drugs don't pour over our borders. And you have to get these people mental health assessments and programs to help them with their mental health and drug abuse problems. That's going to help solve the whole homeless situation down the road. There's also other multiple things going on, like the fact that the government printed a lot of money. Super hyperinflation took place and everything cost 10 times more than it did, 3 years ago. So there's a multifold aspect to this. I don't think there's one simple solution, but there's stuff that needs to take place besides just giving people housing vouchers. That doesn't help anything, especially if you're letting millions of people just come across the border to take more and more of our housing that already exists. So the area we're driving in now was known back in the Old West days, in the 1870s, 80s, 90s, as Hell's Half Acre, and this encompassed the area where the convention center sits now, the Water Garden, on over to the Omni Hotel. The Red Light District. Alrighty, folks, I think we focused enough on the negative aspects of Fort Worth. Fort Worth's actually a beautiful city, and it's a big city. It's the 13th largest in the nation, like we said earlier. So you're going to have your bad parts, you're going to have your good parts. Right now we're strolling through the central downtown corridor. To your right's the Bass Hall Performance Hall. It's where a lot of the big name acts come to perform. And yeah, it's quite a beautiful city. And it's been around a long time. It's an old city, as far as Texas standards go. Here's the old courthouse. Beautiful, beautiful courthouse. Built in 1893 and Renaissance style architecture. So leaving the courthouse hill and going down towards the northern part of town over the Trinity River, we'll get into the Fort Worth Stockyards part of town, which is a very, very cool part of town. And it's where all the tourists go when they come to Tarrant County or Fort Worth. So this part of town is called the North Side. Now, just to my right here is where the old baseball team, the Fort Worth Cats, used to play, and I believe the stadium still exists. Although, I'm not going to have time to go over there today, but when we do another tour of Fort Worth, we'll come back and check out the old stadium. Also, there's some really cool parts of this town over by TCU, Camp Bowie, the Arts District, the zoo, the botanical gardens. There's some really cool parts of this town that we're not going to be able to get to today, but let's at least check out the old Stockyards quick. Check out this old abandoned, fallen down auditorium. I wonder what this was at one time. So after waiting about 45 minutes on a train that I believe had some kind of derailment issue, we had to turn around and go back towards Fort Worth and go around the backside to get into the Stockyards. But doesn't this kind of look like the A-Team opening coming from this side of Fort Worth? Kind of weird, huh? Anyway, we pull back around to get into the Stockyards the back way, and yeah, let's check it out. So if you're a tourist and you want to check out Fort Worth for the first time, you want to see the Old West history, the ambiance of the Old West, the Stockyards is the place you want to go. It's fantastic and it's a great experience, especially if you've never been there before. Lots of good food places, Mexican food, Tex-Mex food, lots of good barbecue, and also some really nice steakhouses. So make sure you're hungry when you get here because you're going to want to stop and eat something. There are some fantastic restaurants and true Texas type experiences as far as food's concerned. So coming up here on Main and Exchange, that's the main part of the Stockyards. And there's some very famous saloons and stuff here, such as the White Elephant. And I have spent a few nights in the White Elephant. It is a fantastic saloon bar. Pretty awesome. The history is amazing. I believe it was opened in 1883. It used to have a big casino inside of it. All kinds of cool stuff. Lots of history. So check the White Elephant out for sure if you come down to the Stockyards. They also do reenactments of the cattle drives going right down Exchange. So check that out if you're in town. Look that schedule up and check that out. It's pretty interesting. So here we are, folks. The infamous corner of the Stockyards, Main Street and Exchange. You got some fantastic places right here in view. The H3 Ranch right here in the corner is fantastic. Very good. You also got Cattleman's. You've got Risky's Barbecue. You've got Cooper's Barbecue. Just some fantastic places to eat down here, folks. And we just passed, there's the look down the Stockyard Exchange right there. We just passed, there's Cattleman's. There we go. Anyway, we just passed the famous Mexican food place, Joe T. Garcia's that I highly recommend. And over here to the right, we got Billy Bob's, the largest honky tonk in Texas, folks. And this is Cooper's Barbecue. I wanted to go eat here, but they were trying to charge me $10 for parking, and I was like, oh hell no, I ain't paying for parking to go eat in a restaurant. It's kind of ridiculous. So ended up at this place instead. This place is awesome. Mercado Juarez. Check that place out. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's film, and we will see you guys next time.